Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. As Donald Trump deploys military troops to some U.S. cities, the protests against ICE agents continue to be peaceful. However, state and local leaders are holding nothing back in their verbal jabs and criticism of ICE and Donald Trump. So the president is now escalating and making new threats, as Fox News reports.
Chicago mayor should be in jail for failing to protect ICE officers. Governor Pritzker also. And the president also says he's not ruling out pulling the lever on the Insurrection Act.
Are you planning to invoke the Insurrection Act? And that would be, a very long-standing law that's been on the books.
Yeah, well, it's been invoked before, as you know.
It's been invoked before. Sure, but usually in response to a crisis like civil unrest or violent rebellions. The Insurrection Act was last used 33 years ago when President George H.W. Bush federalized the California National Guard and sent federal troops to Los Angeles to stop rioting following the acquittal of police officers in the Rodney King case. Throughout U.S. history, the Insurrection Act has been invoked 30 times, but it has never been invoked because of local isolated crime. President Trump says he is disgusted by how many people get shot and killed each weekend in Chicago. Regarding Trump's threats to jail state and local leaders in Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker is now issuing his own sort of challenge to Trump.
Well, you know the expression, Trump always chickens out taco. And I got to say, he can't arrest. We've done nothing wrong here. And very importantly, it's Donald Trump that is breaching the Constitution, breaking the law. We're taking him to court, and I believe we're going to win.
Trump's bluff has been called out before, most recently by California Governor Gavin Newsom. In that state, the debate over federal troops was settled by a judge and by appellate courts who ruled that the troops could not be in 7 different counties in and around Los Angeles. Illinois leaders have also now filed suit against the Trump deployment of troops. The Democrats point out there is no insurrection and that violent crime is actually down this year in Chicago and across the state, and that there's been no request for military assistance to help local police.
The federal government is not communicating with our state.
They're not talking to you about where these troops are going.
It's unconscionable. This has never happened before. They're calling out troops onto the streets of a state that doesn't want them. And they're not even telling us where they're going to go, what they're going to do. This hasn't happened, I don't think, since the Civil War.
Of course, during the Civil War, one difference, among others, is that neither President Abraham Lincoln nor Jefferson Davis, President of the Confederacy, faced accusations of dementia. Donald Trump's alleged mental illness keeps coming up repeatedly. Amidst the government shutdown, Donald Trump claimed his administration was negotiating with Democrats. Democrats said there had been no negotiations, not even a peep from the Trump White House. Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego told reporter Eric Garcia, quote, "The president clearly has some kind of dementia, so I think that he's probably talking to himself or think he's talking to a Democrat, but I sincerely doubt that actually he's physically talking to a Democrat." Back in Illinois, during a Q&A event on stage, Governor Pritzker also spoke of Trump's dementia, given Trump's perspective about violent crime.
When Donald Trump says that, it's a hellhole in Chicago, when he says that there's crime rampant across Chicago or Illinois, it's a complete BS. Number one, we're in the top half of states, 19th, in terms of safety, 19th. Right, so we're in the top half of states. There's a whole bunch of states that are much worse than we are,
like Texas,
for violent crime, like Texas. And Chicago is not in the top 25 or 30 cities in terms of violent crime. So, and look at who's at the top, by the way. Several cities in Florida, several cities in Texas. But he doesn't talk about any of those places. He only talks about sending them to Portland, to L.A., to Washington, D.C., to Chicago. What do they all have in common?
So why do you think he does that? What are you saying? Let's make it clear.
Aside from the fact that he's out of his mind and has dementia, it's clear to me that he is targeting Democratic cities, blue cities, and especially blue cities in blue states.
Pritzker and other Democrats believe that Trump's ICE raids and troop deployments are intended to normalize the actions and prepare the public for martial law. The Democratic fear is that Trump will use martial law or the Insurrection Act to suppress voting in Democratic cities in the 2026 midterm elections. In the meantime, a string of federal judges keep ruling against Trump's military deployments. Lawsuits have also been filed by protesters who say their First Amendment rights are being trampled. None of this seems to be dissuading Trump, whose language and threats keep getting more ominous and detached from reality. Whether Trump is suffering from dementia or anything else is probably irrelevant. Trump's actions, by some accounts, are making U.S. cities more dangerous, not less. And tensions are skyrocketing. By the way, House Speaker Mike Johnson's effort to delay the Trump-Epstein files release is blowing up in Johnson's face.
So the Speaker's office has had absolutely no communication with me directly at all. So everything is going through Leader Jeffries or Whip Clark, and every person in the Democratic caucus has been so incredibly supportive.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.